Hey boys and girls, this is a quick video to show you how you can paint in a background before we collage or glue on top of it. If you don't have paint, that's okay. You can just use crayon or colored pencil, but just for those that do happen to have some watercolor paint at home, I wanted to show you this. The first technique you see me using here is called wet on dry, and I'm just using a lot of water on my brush to help get the paint out. So it's a wet brush on dry paper, and that's why we call it wet on dry. When you use this technique, the paint, the first layer of paint that you put on just stays right where you put it. Now, if you add in color on top of that paint, as I'm doing now, since the paper is already wet, you'll start to see it move around a little bit more. But this technique is really good for the first layer of color just staying put. You'll notice that that blue I put down first is not moving around a lot. Next, you'll see that I'm wetting the paper first and dropping color into the wet paper. This allows the paint to move and mix more freely. So it's great for a subject like the sky that has a lot of blended color. You would probably not want to use a technique like this for something if you were doing a watercolor of something like a bowl of fruit, where you want each individual piece to keep its color. The water on the paper really causes that paint to move around, and then you can see I'm just kind of taking my brush and pushing it where I want it to go. And then finally, you notice me with the paper towel there. That's a great way to pull up paint in places where you want to. That might be to blot in a cloud, a little white cloud that will soak up the paint, and then you'll be left with some white paper. Or sometimes if you just decide that you got too dark in one place, you could pull the paper up or pull the paint up that way. You see here where I've wet the paper at the bottom, how that paint is flowing down into the water. Also, one thing that you'll notice when you look at the sky is that it's typically lighter at the horizon, and then as you look up, the sky gets darker. So that's one thing to keep in mind if you're painting your sky or if you're coloring it in. And then you can just sort of play around a little bit with the brush strokes to give it the look that you want it to have.